to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Humble Severance Bundle is live! Well, hopefully, since they laid off 20% of their workforce, and natural selection loads faster than a speeding bullet. If said bullet was made entirely of disease.
Engadget reviews the Alienware Alpha. You can save yourself some reading. It sucks. Unengine 2.0 gets released. Developers reportedly looking up from their Unreal 4 workflows and going, huh.
Wasteland 2 lets you aim at body parts, but not the same way that Fallout 1 and 2 did. AMD sheds yet another person from the rotten carcass they call a CPU division. This time, straight to NVIDIA.
I'm Vin Stone here in Athens, switching this nightmare-fueled, joined every week by a tame Canadian podcaster, Master Huang, up in the Torontos, and all the way from Pedro Montes, and together with you, Chatrealm, joining us live, 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time. You help us form just a bit of a cocaine Voltron. And man, do we have a show for you this week. It's going to be insane. But before we get into that, we like to check up and see what's going on in each other's life organs. I'm going to start this off because I have been slighted. Nay, I am being punished because Pedro has managed to secure keys for what was the name of this horrible thing I'm going to be forced to play?
Sword Coast Legends.
That will be coming out. All you need to know is it's Dungeons and fucking Dragons, and a pox upon you all, bitches. J-Baby, what's up?
I bought myself a new Tandy. Went to Radio Shack, picked it up. It's like 1.2 kilohertz. It's some fucking badassness. It has some weirdness with the network card, though. The new Atheros Nix can eat a bag of dicks under Linux. Jesus fucking Christ.
And on my end, Nori saw the old shield just lying around, and she's like, "Can I have that tablet?"
Blam!
Yeah,
Yoink.
sure, why
Boom.
not? So
Wait, no, I definitely have to ask you this. Did you give her the explodey one or the non-explodey one?
The exploding one.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna end wonderfully. Film it.
So yeah, now I have the Asus TF300 back, and good news,
Blam!
it runs Hearthstone. So yeah.
All right.
So that's
Well,
the
there's one
toilet
thing
tablet.
that always runs for us every single week, and that's the horse, J-Baby.
This is well. We're gonna look at it.
Steam Lex.
Update of the
What's up?
Yeah, that
Mike
was
T?
terrible.
This is our New Jersey correspondent, and he's a Jersey boy. He's awesome and all that with the beard, but he has some extra special sauce because he's a filthy pre-orderer, and that's awesome of him because now not only does he have the Steam Link, he has the Areola controller with Gaben's nipples themselves. Son, let's start off with that Areola controller. How's it? Show me. I want to see it.
Well, we have the Areola controller right here. Does not have much in the way of areolas anymore, but still works pretty nicely.
Hold it up again. I didn't get a real good look at it. Okay, it's wireless. How's that battery placement on the back there?
The battery panel actually removes completely,
Okay.
and one battery goes in each hand grip.
Sounds like the Ouya controller.
Kind of.
Okay, are you liking it? Because the one thing I was worried about is that D-pad, giggity, is a little close to the buttons.
The D-pad is actually very strange. In some instances, it works like a trackpad on a laptop, and then in other instances, it works like a analog stick. So you're never quite sure what you're going to get when you fire up a game. You can go into the profiles and configure everything like that, but I don't know. It hasn't really matured yet.
Well,
And some games have questionable selection.
J-Man, you wanted to know how what the feel was in your hand organs,
Yeah,
right?
no, that was one of my main concerns is how the controller actually feels in your hand, with the weird shape and the touchpads and whatnot. So like after like prolonged use, have you noticed your hands getting stiff or anything like that?
No, actually, it's pretty nice. It actually has a kind of a Xbox 360 controller contour kind of feel. It's a little bit lighter, which is actually kind of a good thing. And other than the little bit of weirdness with the touchpads, it works for the long term quite
Wait,
So
nicely.
you had to set up some UDEV stuff for this though, didn't you?
Yeah, that initially got my hardware, plugged it all in, updated everything, and nothing worked. So in a moment of desperation and panic, I sent an email to Valve saying, "Oh my God, blah, blah, blah." It was about 3 pages of panic. And they wrote me back and said, "Here's a link, follow these instructions." Basically, you install 2 UDEV rules that allow Linux to recognize the joystick as a keyboard and mouse combo, and one that allows it to be recognized as a raw UDEV device or U-input device. And once you do that, everything's fine. But before that, it only works in the big picture UI, and then you start a game and nothing happens.
Good times.
So Pedro had some questions too.
Yeah, my biggest gripe with it is because I'm left-handed. So can you like swap the looking around bits from the right areola to the left, and having, you know, just having the left areola doing the looking around like you would with the right analog stick on your Xbox 360 controller, and having the right areola be the movement one?
Well, the whole thing with this controller is that it is super programmable and super customizable. So you go into big picture and it has a whole section for configuring what everything does. There's no little checkbox for like a left-handed checkbox that just switches everything for you. But I'm pretty sure if you tried, you could work something out.
Well,
all right, that's good.
One final thing, okay, I'm going to say on a scale of Liam to Nintendium, how fragile do you think it's going to be? I mean, can you throw it through a TV comfortably?
Probably. It actually does feel pretty solid. When I first picked it up, I was like, whoa, this is light. And then I held my 360 controller and it at the same time. And I was like, actually, you know what? This feels pretty good. And after using it for a while, the build quality is quite nice. So I would say more toward the Nintendium side and away from the Liam side.
Well, there's even one more thing. Maddie's asking in chat room. That's actually one of my questions. I mean, we know it vibrates, but can you adjust it? Maybe just kind of make it vibrate all the time. You know what I'm saying? Wink.
You can put the vibration on high. It has full force feedback, 2-motor force feedback. It also does this weird.
Does it have the haptic on the joypad?
Exactly. The right side touchpad has the haptic feedback. So as you're tracking your thumb over it, it actually kind of vibrates in distance intervals. So as you move, you can kind of track how far your thumb is moving just by feel, which is actually kind of cool. I'm not 100% on it. I've only had the thing for a day, so I still reserve a bit of judgment. But as far as I know, it works pretty well so far.
What games did you try?
Okay, let's see. We tried Metro 2033, which first-person shooters actually seem to use the pad in trackpad mode. They don't use it as an analog stick. So to aim, you do little swiping motions with your thumb, which is kind of strange at first, and it actually ended up with me like staring at the ceiling, unable to figure out what the hell was going on at first. But once you figure out what's going on, it actually works pretty well. I can't say the same for the dual stick shooters. I'm a big fan of dual stick shooters, and for those you have to use the touchpad in like analog stick mode, where you kind of slide your thumb around the perimeter to control the angle you're shooting at. And that didn't work as well at all. But once again, still kind of beta hardware. I'm hoping maybe some firmware updates or some client updates. Or... Fix it, Steam, fix it.
Okay, gentlemen, any more questions on that? Or is it time to get linky?
Yeah, let's
move on to the link.
MD, you have some write-up written up, so I think we might post that on the site.
Yeah, sure. Here is the link. You've got HDMI, Ethernet, 2 USBs, and then you get another USB on the side here. You can use keyboards and mice through it. It just passes those straight through. And you can also plug any sort of wired controllers that you want into it, not just the Steam controller. I actually tried it with the 360 and the PS3 controller, and it worked flawlessly, which kind of blew my mind. It's kind of funny, though, because whatever controller you plug into it, Steam sees as the Steam controller. It doesn't see it as a 360 or a PS3 controller anymore.
Right on, right on. Something I was curious about is, like, when I do in-home streaming, Linux to Linux, right? And I'm assuming you're doing Linux to Linux streaming, right?
Mac to Linux.
Solaris.
Solaris, okay. Brilliant. The biggest issue I've always had is it'll open the game and just leave it running even after I've shut it down on the remote connection. Does that still happen? Or...
You get a little flash of your desktop when the game quits, and then big picture mode kicks back in. Once again, I think Valve's probably going to have to do some more updating on all this stuff before it's 100% seamless. But it works. You can even have, if you have Windows open on top of the game as it's running on your computer, you don't see any of that on the TV. So they're obviously grabbing some GL context type stuff. And it works. It's magic.
So I want to know, because we have a story coming up. So apparently Valve has optimized a bunch of the netcode for Wi-Fi. So did you try it on Wi-Fi, and what would you say the difference is between that and wired connection?
The only real difference I saw on the Wi-Fi was that it was not as consistent in its frame rate. You definitely had more frame drops going on. There was zero difference between 100 megabit and gigabit. Could not tell the difference in the slightest. The Wi-Fi was just a little bit dodgier. Not even that bad, though.
And you're on wireless N?
Yeah. 5 gigahertz wireless N.
Oh, 5 gig, yeah.
No one else using it. And it actually ran really well. I was expecting it to be worse than it was. And it wasn't.
I mean, I really got nothing on the Steam Link, because I built my own Steam machine and I've been using Steam streaming for a while, so I don't
know. I guess at the end of the day, one thing I definitely want to say about it is, for 50 wet, stinky caches, even if it's not something you're going to use all the time, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than building a Steam box, J-Baby.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I was curious about was, did you try it with Bluetooth controllers at all?
I did not. Well, actually, I think the PS3 controllers are technically Bluetooth, but they use some weird... I didn't mess with any of that yet.
Blues 4 will handle PS3 controllers without really any issue. I don't know if that's what they have on the Steam Link. But anyways, that's interesting. That's good. You guys have anything else you want to ask, or are we going to wrap the segment?
How's the purchase, man? I mean, would buy again, or are you feeling good about the controller, or about the Steam Link, or the enzymes collaborating with each other?
I'm actually feeling better about the Link than I am the controller. Push comes to shove, I like the 360 controller. I like the PS3 controller. They work fine. I don't know. Being able to move your cursor around on the desktop and click with a controller is kind of cool, but I don't know if that's $50 cool. On the other hand, I've got my big, beautiful TV, and now I can play Metro 2033 on it at decent frame rates. Looks good. I don't know. It's $50. You get what you pay for, but at the same time, that's what, an eighth the price of the cheapest Steam machine. So,
yeah. You already got a capable computer. It's a pretty good purchase to make. So, speaking of wireless on the Steam Link, there is a story about that we're going to talk about now.
Let's talk about the speed.
Oh yes. So there's a beta update if you're part of the Steam beta. They have some new code in the streaming software to optimize the connection, or the connection to Steam Link or your Steam streaming receiver over Wi-Fi. And as Empty was saying, it seems to be working fairly well. So there is that. They have a forum thread if you're experiencing any issues with it, so you can go check that out if you are a Steam Link owner or a Steam streaming user that have just noticed some performance hits or some other weirdness.
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of curious. I know they're working on it, but if you go to the store page for the Steam Link, it clearly says not recommended for wireless, like use wired connection for this device.
I mean, that makes sense. But at the same time, this is supposed to be a gaming Chromecast, so to some degree, it needs to be able to work with as few wires as possible. So,
Well, let's talk about those
it's
boxes.
in progress. Yes. So this is an article from Engadget, and they are reviewing the Alienware Alpha, and I shudder to think what the actual results are. So they've actually determined that it's a bit of a mixed bag. One of the interesting bits Ven highlighted in the show notes was they were trying Shadow of Mordor, and the Alpha did not handle it all that well. Well, the quote was, "I don't know if the game is simply more resource intensive than I realized, or if it's poorly optimized for PCs, or just a bad Linux port." Feral guys, come on,
Dude, you called out right there.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like a Steam Machine flagship title, and these guys are saying that it runs like ass on one of the first commercially available Steam machines. It's not too good. I mean, we addressed performance in our Shadow of Hodor review, but like this is a major publication that people are going to read and use to inform their purchasing habits. Let's be honest, the LinuxGameCast audience, we're already kind of preaching to the choir here. But lots of people are interested in Steam machines. Yes. But I mean, like, I don't know. The Alpha seems like a really bad piece of hardware to review, just because number one of the main deals with these Steam machines is that they're upgradable. The only thing you can really upgrade in this is the RAM and the processor. And really, how often do you upgrade a processor? And unfortunately, because it's really the only one out in stores that you can go and buy, it's just not gonna. I mean, if the reviewers are having bad experiences with it, what makes you think that you're going to have a better one?
Actually, this particular reviewer was not having a bad experience. This is the same guy that tested the Alpha, the Alienware Alpha, which is basically the exact same hardware, but it comes with Windows instead of SteamOS. So, and he said that where all those places that the Windows version fell short, the SteamOS version of the Alienware Steam Machine was actually passing with flying colors, really. And the most interesting thing about this particular article and others of its kind isn't the articles themselves. It's actually the impact that it's having on indie developers mostly. You don't see a lot of the AAA publishers going, "Oh shit, they actually released it." But yeah, indie developers have gone like, "Oh crap, they're shipping them. No. Our game is Mac and Windows only, but we totally have a Linux version coming, you guys. We were
I'll
always
take
going to
things
release
that
it."
have never been said at a stainless games maker of Carmageddon reincarnation for 200, Alex.
Yeah, definitely not. But there are actually some glaring examples of this. Telltale's Minecraft story mode, The Long Dark, Broforce, which we'll be talking about later on in the show, and the Solus Project. I'm pretty sure there's more, but those are the 4 glaring ones.
Yeah, I don't know. I was actually watching a roommate play through Minecraft Story Mode because he thought it was actually Minecraft on Steam. That thing's only like an hour and a half long.
Yeah, it's episodic. It's Telltale.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about something that is running. That's Storm United. Not the earlier fix this week, but the later fix brings this steaming pile of nope of a game. It's definitely here. It fixes. Let's see. Do they even try to pretend it's working right on Linux now? Not really. Storm United, correct me if I'm right, I think was the first Unreal Engine 4 game we saw on Steam available for Linux. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, guys, this is going to be a free-to-play game, but right now it's $19.99. And they released it, and initially it did work. I mean, performance was a little column A, a little column B. But then they went through this 4-month period of the Linux client did not work. It was not I mean, everyone called it the menu simulator because that's all you could do in the game. You couldn't join servers or anything like that. Earlier this week, we got that hotfix, and that allowed you to try to join a game before it crashed to the desktop. Now, the second hotfix allows you to join a game. It's your standard first-person shooting lot, and you can already see they're already working a way to make micropayments and, to pay to win, all that business in there. But it does work. Jay, baby, you said you still got some issues with it?
Yeah, no, I downloaded the 5 gigs again because I had uninstalled that and forgot about it. Because, I figured they forgot about the Linux version, so I should just forget about it as well. It still crashes when I try to join a server. I tried twice, and it just nope. And this is on the new Intel sauce, too, so... No.
Yeah, for me, the only way I can even join a server if I put all the sliders down to rock bottom and disable all the shinies in the graphics options. That's literally the only way. It will crash otherwise.
One thing I did notice is while it's sitting in menus, it consumes a lot less CPU resources than it used to. So,
well, that's also true. And if you're thinking about, if you have 20 wet, stinky caches to burn, just burn it, because once you are in, you realize there's never more than 3 people playing.
Oh, yeah.
or you could donate it to, our PayPal account, LinuxGameCast.com/podcast. There's a donate button there. Give us your $20.
Super sweet. Well, let's cut this out.
Yep. Director's Cut for Wasteland 2. It is actually a whole new game. If you go to your Steam library, if you already own Wasteland 2, you get the Director's Cut for free. And it's got Unity 5. It's got a shit ton more voice acting. They've introduced a VATS type system, which they say a precision strike system allows you to target individual body parts on enemies in combat, which lets you inflict negative status effects on them. And when I read this, I'm like, oh shit! It's like the Fallout 2 VATS where you can take your sledgehammer and hit people in the crotch with it.
But Pedro, what type of evil people are these? Are they trying to milk extra money out of this?
No, this is free. If you own Wasteland 2, you get this for free.
Sweet.
I know, it's unlike... Go on.
No, it's just that they've also rebalanced the entire game, so if you've already finished it, you monster. You can actually play it again. There's a whole bunch of new crap.
Yeah. I was going to say, unlike some companies that will remain unnamed, these guys actually wait until the game is available and stable on all available platforms before releasing a director's cut. But yeah, you're SOL if you own the console version of Wasteland 2. I don't know why you would want to do that, but it's Broforce. That game that everyone liked back when it was called Metal Slug.
It's live. It doesn't say it makes with the Linux just yet, but it's definitely there. You can pick this up for $9.99. That's 33% off, regularly $14.99. What is it? You never heard about it? When evil threatens the world, America. So I don't know. I mean, I think you said it right. It's a Metal Slug with a multiplayer pixel hipster bullshit.
Yeah, it's like a worse looking Metal Slug. And considering Metal Slug was released in like 1990, that's kind of saying something.
SKU, baby. You gonna be picking it up, baby?
I might send them an email.
Huh.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people playing it on YouTube.
It's been on Humble Bundles a ton, so I mean...
Yeah, but I kind of skipped those Humble Bundles because it was either games that I already owned or didn't have a single Linux version available, and now that the Steam machines are actually shipping to people, here's the Linux version. Assholes.
I don't know. I might pick it up. I might already own it. It's probably in some bundle I bought at some point. Multiplayer hipster pixel graphics, not exactly dying to do that, especially at 4K, because that's just fugly, but let's push this business back. You might remember this game. It was called not Road Rash, that'd be a copyright infringement. Road Redemption. They have been teasing, this thread's going back for months. They're like, the Linux build, what was it, about 2 months ago? And they're like, we have everything works except controller support. Now that's escalated like 3 more times. Like, we kind of got it straightened out, but there's some game crashing bugs and all this fun business. But yeah, we can't really tell you when it's coming out, and it's still in early access, and it's $12.99 even though it's on sale. And even the Windows version, even though we said it's going to be out before the end of December, is still missing like small little features that we promised for even the Windows version, like online multiplayer that we don't have working yet. But totally buy our game, guys. It's brilliant.
That's rough. I mean, like part of this is like multiplayer in procedurally generated worlds, and if you don't have multiplayer, what's the point?
The one thing I will say, and P-Man's right, is because it's on Unity, unlike Chromageddon Reincarnation, in my void black heart, I genuinely believe they have a version. They're like, well, it's crashy, but you have a segment on your forums to deal with crashes. Hey, let's do some QA, Shoot it back and forwards. Maybe we can help you out, because what the fuck do you think early access means? Baked product? Because this isn't big, son. P-baby.
Yeah, no, in the show notes, I had this big old rant saying that, yeah, they only have that build because it is running on Unity. Unlike Carmageddon, which was built from scratch on an entirely new engine to run on Windows only. If we are to take, like, Windows Games reviewers' experiences, it doesn't do a very good job at that either. So no, Carmageddon isn't coming, and Stainless should probably be sued, and you can probably tell that I'm still bitter about it.
Pedro,
But you know what,
it's
I'm
not
not
like both of
so
us backed
salty.
the game on Kickstarter, Pedro. It's not like either one of us like backed it and still can't play it. No.
No, it's not like I backed it at the 15 euro level or anything that was the minimum to get into the beta that I never got to play because it never came out for Linux. Yeah, no. But yeah, what doesn't make me bitter is when people read our little contact page. And the guy behind from Paint It Back, which I cannot remember the name of, I am sorry, I forgot. But he actually read the page and he sent us 3 keys. There'll be a link in the show notes as usual. We'll also going God damn it, English. We're also going to be talking fuck. No, it's gone. We're also
How drunk
What
are you
is it?
talking?
You never heard of it? Use Logic as your paintbrush to restore lost works of pixel art. Try the demo. I'm going to tell you this business, what it is, what it was, and what it might continue to be. In early conception, this is an iDevice game. That's right. You go to the Apple Store, you pick it up, and it's completely free. It did show up for a brief moment on the Android Play Store, but it has since went to the poofs. No explanation, couldn't find any reason why it was pulled from that and it was deleted and all that business. But the actual gameplay, they're like, here's a picture, create it with hipster pixels. That's a thing. But since it can no longer be, they had content available packs and all that, instead of being free, it's currently $7.99, 15% off at $6.79. Did you have some thoughts on it, Jay Baby?
I downloaded it and I was gonna play it. But oh God! Better luck next time, God. I was too busy. Oh God!
Oh,
Swing
karma's
two.
a real bitch,
Oh,
isn't it?
no. Yeah, no. Swing and a miss, God. Fuck you. No, I was too busy inflicting what was it, Outlast on myself to get a chance to actually give this one a shot. And I made a Rolling Stones joke in the show notes, but I'm not going to bother with it right now because I'm too busy coughing my lungs out. But that's a little unnatural,
Still
don't you
alive,
think?
faster than a speeding bullet if it was made of disease. Remember Natural Selection 2? Well, if you don't, I can't blame you, but they have fixed the load times. 47%, 81% reduction on first load, and if you have an SSD, 55 to 46. This is really one of the earlier games that came out for Linux, and we all had really big, hope organs for it. This is going to be great. But it was just laughably long. I mean, you could go make tea and some toast, come back,
And then
sit down.
Then
You
the
know.
game crashes when you fire.
Oh, as soon as you hit that, and it nopes to the desktop. Now they've reduced it. You got to cut the toast out of the load the game, and you can just go make some tea, come back, sit down, and give it a play. I didn't bother downloading it because 0 fucks can be given to this game at this point. Because as soon as I waste my time downloading it and I hit the fire button and it'll probably nope again, I'm not going to give it the fucking time of day, P-Baby.
Yeah, the one thing I got from reading... it's really tough. Okay, slower. From reading this article was that you weren't just compiling your shaders at launch, you were also compiling textures. If that's what these people think that optimization is, they need to go back to coding class because that's not how it works. At least now they include the low texture presets as a precompiled asset. So when you load the game, you're already loading those low resolution textures. But you're going to be looking at a lot of pop-in. And texture pop-in looks horrible, especially in 2015. What the hell?
I was like, okay. One thing I did learn, there was a TIL on like 2 days ago. Apparently, we were not special. This game loaded the same on Windows as it loaded on Linux. It was exactly as bad. And they did have a logical explanation because all of the growth sections on each level and how that could be done, it has to generate that. Well, that's just bad game design. Good on the community, though. You can go to unknownworlds.com. Check that out. It's going to be in the show notes along with everything else.
I don't know. Natural Selection 2 just fucking broke my heart, man. I loved the first one, and then the second one was just complete garbage. And this one's just way too unstable. And it's a community supported project. I mean, I guess good on them for getting the stuff fixed, but I mean, Unvanquished is a thing, and it actually works. So
yeah, I mean, you got to remember, Skullgirl volunteers are best volunteers. Before we put a bow on this and J-Man takes us out, I just want to thank Empty, the T-Han, once again for showing us that linky, steamy areola business, huh?
Yeah, no, it's kind of neat to see them up close and personal for the first time on LinuxGameCast. But up next, we have some interesting driver news for open source stuff. And we discuss who would win in a fist fight, Helen Keller or Anne Frank.
So my English is not doing so good tonight. Excuse me. But this is the news segment. And in true LGC tradition, we start with drivers. NVIDIA's, to be more specific. The new 358.09 beta is out and about. It fixes some regressions when it comes to OpenGL performance on headless X server configurations. It also adds a new mode setting kernel driver, the NVIDIA-modeset.ko. It doesn't currently do anything. It doesn't even introduce anything that users can tinker around with, at least not on the surface. And they've also managed to promote the full OpenGL 3.0, or at least the extensions and contexts that were missing, to full official ARB officialness, as it were. Jordan?
Yeah, one of the interesting bits about the KMS driver is it looks like they're doing some additional work to get ready for Mirror, because that is the future, guys. Let's just be clear. Get on board with it. Nothing else is happening. Wayland is old news.
Hey, man, Enlightenment dropped support for Wayland.
Nice. Of course. Yeah, that's a desktop environment people are using. No, but I mean, I thought at first the KMS drivers would result in me, when I switched to PTY, not actually getting giant text. But that turned out to not be the case. And apparently there's some additional work going on trying to still do damage control on that 3.5 gig of RAM issue.
Yep. They're using
they have that,
their
memory
offloading
allocation
some stuff onto
mechanism
dev
for the-
SHM.
Yeah.
So basically, NVIDIA, hashtag no class action lawsuit for us. But there's
Pretty
more.
much, yeah. Yeah, there's some exciting news if you have an AMD card and you actually want to run a recent kernel. AMD cards for R600 almost have OpenGL 4.1. Holy shit! It's almost here, you guys. It's almost here. My fucking APU-based Steam box will actually be able to play some new games. If that's a big if, the R600 devs can actually get tessellation working, because that is the last extension that they have before it's fully, for the R600 at least, is fully OpenGL 4.1 compliant. An interesting bit regarding that is that Intel has to, that's one of the remaining tasks for the Intel one, if you scroll down a wee bit to the GL 4.1 section. Intel still has
Vertex Eclipse 64-bit and sample GPU shader FP64.
Yeah, it's what was it? Where's Brain? I was looking at this the other day. For one of the remaining
does this
extensions
mean
for
that
4.0.
I should just run out and go buy the R9 Furry X?
No, because that's not an R600 card.
Aw.
This is for stuff like my APU or Pedro's old calculator, or if you basically have a pre-Southern Islands GPU, this is the driver that you should be using if you want a recent
And the whole tessellation bit, I think they might actually have it working to some degree, but the performance sucks. I remember in the calculator, whenever it was doing tessellation, be it like grass leaves or some complex shadow effects, the performance would tank. So I'm guessing they're kind of holding off on it till they can get some decent performance on it, maybe?
Maybe, but like I was saying, Intel and AMD have the same goals, so maybe we can get a little cooperations between those two teams.
Speaking of AMD,
yes. Speaking of AMD, one of their that really good-looking gentleman you see
Man,
on
if
that
he
picture
doesn't
there.
have bodies buried behind his house,
If he doesn't have a freezer full of
Mr.
human faces,
Phil
I would be
Rogers
legitimately surprised.
has actually left AMD. He was one of the CPU guys, and now he has joined NVIDIA. So, out of the frying pan and into the oven.
I don't know.
I guess.
I mean, first AMD Roy was like, YOLO swag, I'm out business, personal.
Tiny
thing.
Roy!
I was like, oh man. Then, Dr. Zen, the guy who created the Zen Arc, he noped, Jim Keller, that good man, and now...
Which I totally read as Helen Keller in the show notes.
Oh, man, that's just so wrong. I mean, she spent so much time having to deal with those Nazis. But, Captain HSA, I mean, this is the guy who championed the memory architecture for the furries and the tails and Musk. And now he's jumping ship. I mean, when Jim Keller left, the guy behind Zen Architecture, I was like, okay. This guy's moved around back and forth. Maybe, Zen's baked and he's like, I want a new challenge and something like that. Now the guy behind the HSA comes up and gets yoinked by NVIDIA, and he's like, I'm going to go over here because they're kind of doing some fun things. What are our thoughts on this, gentlemen?
I mean, it makes sense that HSA is the heterogeneous system architecture where you can have different coprocessors. So you could have a GPU core handling some calculations and an x86 core handling some, and ARM cores managing it when you don't need the power consumption. But I mean, NVIDIA has some pretty heavy investments in Tegra, and an expert on offloading specific CPU operations to a GPU that can handle them faster would be something that that NVIDIA would really, really, really want to get their hands on. But yeah, with everyone leaving AMD, I really don't feel guilty about dropping $500 for an i7.
I don't know. P-Man, you got some crazy-ass speculation sauce rolling out of your tongue.
Yeah, that is very wild speculation. I was thinking, so another CPU guy leaves AMD and goes straight to NVIDIA. So I'm like, oh, might we finally see an x86 compliant NVIDIA CPU?
Not gonna happen. No.
Yeah, no. Probably not, but it would be nice.
Intel would sue them so hard.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a sticky business when you think about it, because Intel has the x86 rights, but AMD has the x86-64.
And neither one of them wants to give NVIDIA anything, so there you go. That's why Tegra
Let's get ready to file for unemployment. This is from Pedro's favorite site, Polygon.com. You can find all this noise in our show notes after the fact, but let's just read this out. Humble Bundle has laid off 12 people, about 20% of its staff, in a move the company's CEO admitted reflected overly eager expansion sauce. First thing, I'm just going to ahead and get this out of the way because Humble, you became a store that used charitable donations as a fucking marketing point. All right, credit to you for marketing that and making it look like that, but you're just another soulless fucking faceless corporation. But then 12% is, 20%, 12 is about 20%. Now I'm Englishing, so that means their full staff, yes, they're going to be maths, is around 60. Fucking how do you have 60 people currently employed at the Humbly Bundly? I just can't get that out of my brain organ. But there's more, ladies and gentlemen. To quote, the current Humble Indie Bundle 15 cuts 3.75. If it would have been Tree Fitty, we would have had a show title to Humble as a default tip on anything over a $25 purchase. And I'm sorry, son, in bird culture, that is considered a dick move.
You want to see my pecker?
Yeah, I've seen too many of these people's peckers. And then, of course, a day later, they announced their big Capcom bundle. So clearly, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel on these finances. I don't know about the whole 375 thing, but I think I know who those 12 people were, and I think they were the staff who are working on Overgrowth. So that development can continue in perpetual in perpetua for forever, really, until people stop buying it on early access. Then it will be released, and there'll be a brand new Humble Indie Bundle that just has that game.
The Overgrowth bundle.
The low price of $35.99.
B-Man, you had some thoughts on this business.
Not on the article itself. I mean, it sucks that people are getting fired, but Polygon? Really?
Uh-huh.
I mean, do we really want to give more traffic to the people that fucked our search engine optimization when it comes to Linux game reviews? Because there was a time that if you went to Google and you type Linux game reviews, LGC was the very first result. That was awesome. Now
So
it's
much
Polygon.
better.
And if you click on that Polygon link, they haven't posted a damn fucking thing since July.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not even going to get into that, but yeah, I kind of echo what Jordan has said and everybody has. I mean, it sucks people lose their jobs. That's fucking horrible, and we're not laughing about that. We're just, like, perplexed, genuinely in the back of our brain organs. How do you have 60 people? And why are you in San Francisco paying San Francisco money?
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
San
I
Francisco
would
is
think
not
that
cheap.
like the 60 people are more for like evangelists trying to get these game companies to drastically slash the prices on their games. So
Oh,
that they
man,
can- to get
I
these
guess Humble
games.
Bundle Roy is never going to be a thing.
It is now. But up next is Unigine. You know, that engine that
Unigine.
that one benchmark suite uses and those 2 other games use. Oh, I'm sorry, 6 games. That have
I
been
did the
shipped.
research to this one.
You
There
did.
There
Credit-
have been
credit where credit is
6
due.
games shipped with Unigine, and 2 of them are on Linux.
Yeah, and they all suck. I mean, Oil Rush isn't that great. And what was the other one?
That MMO.
Not the MMO and the point and click,
Relics
the
of
adventure
Anorak.
game that we reviewed
right.
that I cannot remember the name of for the life of me with the creepy robot chick. But you know, they have version 2.0 out. It came out of beta. All this stuff was previously available in a beta release. They've tacked on some new stuff, though. They've moved their GUI to a Qt-based solution, which is nice because that means that it will work on pretty much everything. They've also added a crap ton of motion capture and VR stuff in preparation for that that wave of hardware releases. What it makes with it will certainly make with the pretty, because that's what Unigine is designed to do. But again, the performance has been consistently terrible. Have they done anything to address it? And it doesn't really seem like they have. And again, as I said in the rundown, everyone is already on Unreal Engine 4. So they're looking up from their Unreal editors going, that's neat. Back to work.
I'm definitely with that. Relics of Anorak, made by a fantastic French team. So,
Yes.
one good thing to come out of France. I downloaded that because I wanted to see where they were at this week, and I downloaded and got all that. Then I went to hit play. Holy fuck, come on. If you have enough time to go over to another monitor, open up a terminal, type in HTOP to be like, right, it's Unigine. I got about another
Single
2 minutes,
thread.
man. I'm going to make some cookies. It loads that slow. Maybe they address that. This has always been considered, especially under Linux, as nothing more than a benchmarking system, and that's normally where they make their cash. I don't know how. And
They also do some simulation stuff. too.
yeah, I hope but as far as like a viable game engine, when I was reading through there, like, we have licensing, special deals. It's all free now, Brad. You can't compete. Maybe they've speeded up. Maybe it's always been a beautiful engine, but it has always been an engine that developers have looked at and went, peace among worlds, bitches. P-Man?
Cradle looked neat until I figured out that I could not rebind controls. So that's not a selling point in their favor at all.
Well, I mean, it ran like...
Favorable?
3 minutes, too.
Sorry, what was that?
Who's your Rubik?
Show title.
All right, wrap us up.
All right. Actually, before we wrap up, we have to say thank you once again to our lovely, lovely, lovely peeps who give us money every week.
What? People give us money?
Yeah, people give us money. They are insane and
Go
fiscally
figure.
irresponsible
I was
enough
about to say
to give
they'd
us
have to be fiscally
five cents a buck, sometimes even so much as $2.50 a show to bankroll this. Because we're all
Jordan, we should give people something in return if they're going to do that.
Oh, and we do. There is a ton of neat stuff
Oh,
for
fuck,
5
son,
cents a
you're
show. You get access to our Let's Play videos a week before everyone else does, and you even get our special super duper Doctor Who riff tracksy crap that we record every week as we suffer through the latest monstrosity that is Doctor Who. Man, I don't know. Between that and Outlast, I think I might just kill myself tomorrow. But I'm not, because our lovely Patreons keep
Spoilers.
wanting to see us. Yeah, seeing us week after week after week. We love you guys. Check us out. Patreon.com/LinuxGameCast.
Thing,
But
one neat thing about Patreon is, we got these little goals, right? Right, P-Man?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, we
Patreon,
do.
we're like, maybe we want to do a Wednesday show, kind of focusing with regular Linux and maybe some gaming thrown in, kind of give you the updates, because there's been a lot of times, P-Man.
Some interviews.
How many times, like, in the middle of the week, we're like, shit, I would really want to fucking talk about this right now.
Yeah, there's like every now and again, there's that one Linux story that everyone wants to talk about, and it would be nice, if we could do a midday show. If people were interested in a midweek show, not midday.
Boom, check this out. We got it. If we can get 50, so what? What do we got? 20?
About $50.06.
20? No, far less than that, man.
$25.
Yeah, we get about
Right.
$25 more.
Right.
We can make that a real thing. It'll pay for the time, bandwidth, and all the business, and bring this beautiful things. You guys are beautiful, lovely party people. But you were saying, Jay, baby.
But up next, we try to outlast, and it's a lot more difficult than it sounds. Woof. Can Outlast the Chairquisition? Let's find out. This is the Chairquisition for Outlast. I've said that 3 times already. It's from Red Barrels, built on the Unreal Engine 3. You can pick it up for $19.99 wet stinky caches, or the Canadian equivalent of $300,000. And what is it? Hell is an experiment you can't survive and Outlast, a first-person survival horror game. Developed by veterans of some of the biggest game franchises in history. As investigative journalist Miles Upshur, that's a stupid ass name, explore Mount Massive Asylum and try to survive long enough to discover its terrible secret, if you dare. And of course, every Chairquisition has the Chairquisition. 1 chair means that it's crap. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's amazing. And we got our categories: Oh Doom, mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's kick off this Chairquisition. Ben, did Outlast make with the working?
Well, brother Svang, how does it make with the working on the 8150 octo-core 980 power displayed with the extra 4K sauce? Oh, well, we do have the SSDs in YOLO RAID. Well, outside of your standard Unreal Engine 3 load times, this critter runs like the silk sauce. You can get the 60 FERPs at the 1080s. You can get the 60 FERPs at the 4Ks. It's a fucking bit brilliant. And that's not something you always see. Hashtag Code Simulator. Gee, money, you really need to patch that business up.
Hashtag Company Heroes.
And give it 4 chairs.
Yeah, on the new Tandy with the i7-6700K, the NVIDIA GTX 980, 32 gigs of RAM, SSDs, all that business at 4K. It holds a smooth 60 FPS, so can't fault it for that. Mind you, considering most of the game is groping around in the darkness, I don't know how much of an accomplishment that actually is. So 4 chairs.
Yeah, on my end, I did notice the frame rate dipping to like the 40s right at the start when you have the headlights on the car shining the walls around you. That it did drop a little bit, but as soon as he turns the car off and walks out, it was right back up to 60. So I can't really blame it for that. And like Jordan said, it's mostly darkness. So on Corora 21 64-bit with the AMD FX 8370E overclocked at 4.2 gigahertz and the GTX 970 Strix, it holds its own. So I'm going to give it 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 4 chairs from Mix with the Working. Up next is Ben. Take it away.
Breathing intensifies. Ladies and gentlemen, grain effects. Grain effects. Everywhere. It's a gimmick. I've never experienced qualifier sober grain effects when shit got dark. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. And if I'm unable to remove that business from a game, you're going to lose a chair automatically. I'm sorry, because it used to be kind of a novel thing, but nowadays it's used normally by Unity developers to cover up their shit textures. And I kind of think maybe there's some decent textures behind this game, but I really can't fucking see them. That said, Brad, it still kind of looks better than Soma. Shots fired. All right. Maybe not better, but it's definitely on par with that business. And the breathing. P-Man will definitely get into this a bit later, but I kind of considered it a bit of a cheat sauce. Breathing intensifies when the monsters get close. And you're like, oh, wow. I guess here comes another jump scare. That's going to be fun. Aside from that, the soundtrack is passable and the voice acting gets that gerb done. So, all in all, it's not busted, but it's nothing new. It's nothing you've never seen before. I'm going to give it 2 chairs just because it works.
I mean, it gets the Yuki Spooky down for sure, but it's not really original about how it goes about it. I mean, you got the bad framing, you got the shaky cam, you got the heavy breathing. My God, I keep expecting a giant guinea pig to show up and start terrorizing people. So I'm just, and honestly, like and someone must really hate those violin strings because they're just grinding on them nonstop. Speaking of the music, actually, at some points, the tense chase music sounds like the Gorn theme from the original Star Trek series. So I keep wanting to reach for a batleth, but you can't fight back in this game. It's a whole other ball of wax. But I mean, the voice acting is decently done. That's a good thing. No points for originality. All the crazy murderous people are like, you got the crazy murderous priest, crazy murderous scientist, and all the random psycho people. That's just what you would expect from those types of stock characters. And the breathing sucks, of course. Get it? And like Ben said, visually, the game is competent. I mean, it looks about as well as you'd expect from a game that came out last year. I mean,
there was some love put into it. I mean, it wasn't...
Yeah, it definitely does. It doesn't really win any points for originality for, like, Balls to the Wall's amazing visuals. I mean, the penises are lovingly rendered, that's for sure. But beyond that, it's going to get 2 chairs.
Yeah, you see, I would give it bonus points for actually having penises. You don't see those every day in a video game, but unfortunately...
That's a soundbite.
Unfortunately, I would like an option to disable the grain effects and the radial blur, not just the motion blur. It's nice of them to actually have included the disable motion blur option, but I would actually like a few more graphics options. If you have texture sharpening enabled in the NVIDIA settings, you're going to see red pixel lines around the shadows. My guess, it's a bug with ambient occlusion and the texture filtering in some specific games. I've seen people complain about it with Borderlands 2 as well. So there might be something iffy going on with Unreal Engine 3, but also, having an option to disable ambient occlusion would not go amiss, just saying. But I honestly do want to choke the main character to near death, just so he learns how to hyperventilate the right way. Because you can tell exactly where the enemies are, even in pitch darkness, based solely on your character's extrasensory perception enabled hyperventilation. You can't see a damn thing, yet if they're really close to you, your character's breathing so heavily, it will give them away. And then there's also the background music. It was kind of alright when it was subtle. But then it came the lady singing some opera bit, accompanied by some twangy-ass music, and it broke just whatever immersion I had left at that point. So for me, it gets 2 chairs because it's functional, but it's not very good.
That's 2 chairs for Shiny and Sounds. And when you say twangy music, I can't help but like imagine country western in this game, which again would have made the game a lot better than it is.
They're playing a violin as though they were a guitar. It's horrible.
Yeah, no, yeah, they like I said, they really hit those cello strings. But that's 2 chairs for Shiny Sounds. Up next is Control. Then
Default Gerbil, well, it's a bit twitchy, but that's how I likes it. I likes me some twitchy business, especially on the Yellow Swag EP and Turbo X-Teen G, whatever this thing is that I want.
Turbo X-Teen.
Turbo X-Teen, baby. And slide, slippity slide. That's always a fun click. If you're here, you click left, then you slide. That kind of irritated me, when it comes down to movement, because naturally, a Linux gamer that is familiar with horror games, real ones, decent ones, Amnesia series, and you're used to being able to pick up and modify and move all the business around you. This is more like click F to run and scream out like a bitch. Because every event is like, oh, click here to open the door. Then the door opens and all that business. And it's like, oh, well, it's going to take some... Oh, would you like to jump up in this vent? Hit spacebar and that'll do it. And it's like, this game genuinely is, just assumes you're stupid as balls. But I've also renamed the shift button to the note button because apparently you're like 50% faster than any of the monsters in this fucking game.
Flash!
You hold down shift, note button, just scoot off. They'll forget about you because AI is stupid as hell, but that's for another conversation. So, nothing wrong with it. 4 chairs.
Yeah, I mean, the camera's kind of twitchy, but I just knocked down the mouse sensitivity with this button here on the G502. And otherwise, it's fairly standard FPS survival horror fare. It's nothing special. I mean, the one thing that bugs me is that normally E is the use button in like first-person shooters, but in this it's left click, and it's sort of inconsistent on how you have to click. But I mean, other than that, it's not a big deal. 4 chairs.
Yeah, I like my mouse to be slow, and I have the Rocat Kova Plus here set to 400 DPIs.
So what do you say? You like your mouse like you like your confused young boys?
No.
With Down syndrome?
I like my sexual intercourses slow. I take my time to do my thing. But that's beside the point.
It's because you have
Even with the slider...
all 30 seconds of it.
Even with the slider all the way down, the mouse is still far too twitchy for me, personally. But since you're not doing any precision aiming in this game, I mean, you have to record certain events that take place, but that's about it. And you don't really have to be looking at it for the game to register it. So I can sort of excuse it. The rest of it is basically your typical FPS fare, so 4 chairs. It works.
All right, that's 4 chairs, 4 control. And now comes the fun part. The fun part. Then.
Whee! Jump scare plus hide and something the game, a.k.a. press left button to hide and or pay respects. You know, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, these games simply do not work for me. I can buy, you know, the monsters and the Jesus priests and the scientists, and I say, yeah, I can buy all that. You know, it's a video game. I can, however, believe for 1 second that I would not have located a plank, hammer, a metal rod, a 16-inch purple double-headed dildo, available at Blair's Emporium. Use offer code LGCDD for 10% off at purchase, a chair, or just something to fucking defend myself. I mean, it's hella difficult to make with the scared one. I'm all, that thing over there. I could totally make a weapon sauce out of that, Brad.
Or solid snake him in the darkness. I mean, seriously.
Really need to address the most balls-believable aspect of this game. A fuck-mothering night vision camcorder that runs on a AA battery. Yes, A uses a single 1.5 volt battery. Bullshit, as I was
Science
saying.
fiction, man.
The entire time. I could accept the monsters and everything else. I saw that, and it was just like, bullshit. Talk about willing suspension of disbelief, just shattered right there. But guess what? At the end of the day, take that shot. It's competently done. Jump scare game that, you know, it's not fugly either. I mean, we kind of touched on that. A lot of leveling into this. It's maybe not something you want to write home about, but I mean, you're not going to be depressed about it. And if you like the horror, you probably want to pick this business up on sale. I mean, it does show up in the Humble Bundlies. I mean, seriously, the price of this game drops more often than an IIS server. So
Sick burn.
Oh shit! I'm gonna have to say 2 chairs, mainly because we got it for a super cheap price. Full price, I would probably just giving it 1. But yeah, baby.
Yeah, we all grabbed this on one of the Humble Bundles. I think it was the one that came with Shadow Warrior, actually. But yeah, no, I think those AA batteries are just mini 0-point modules. That's why I think this is actually a science fiction game.
Not if you have it on hard mode, because those things go down quicker than Paris Hilton and a Monaco nightclub.
Yes. No, but I mean, so the camera positioning of this game is designed to set up jump scares. Like the second you interact with any element in the environment, it like forces the camera to have you facing directly in front of whatever is in front of you, which means that you can be jump scared from behind, from the left, or from the right. So which is it gonna be? Let's play the jump scare lottery. And seriously, must this guy slam every single door he comes across? Has he not heard of just, gently touching a door shut? But seriously, I'm not a big fan of the trap in the asylum cliche. I think it's a bit overdone. It's not something that appeals to me as like a scary thing. Like Ven said, like there's no recourse. With the amount of stuff lying around, you could easily just put together a weapon, or hell, even an improvised explosive device, and blow open the front door and leave. That's not even to say how your protagonist should have left the place the second he found out that there's a bunch of dead bodies in there. But then again, he's an idiot. So what are you gonna do? This type of survival horror I find is kind of a chore, and it's just tedious stealth stuff. I think I'm gonna call this sort of game from now on survival nuisance, because that's really what it is. And I mean, good thing this guy has a camcorder that takes AA batteries, because I'm not sure those exist. If he had one of those lithium-ion powered camcorders, he would have been screwed in about 2 hours. The night vision thing is a bit of a neat replacement for the typical flashlight mechanic. It doesn't really do anything like gameplay-wise different, but it's a nice little touch. It does remind me of the Paris Hilton sex tape a bit too much. And really this boils down to, I have no investment in this game. Soma had a cool concept. It had some neat ideas. This is just cliche after cliche after cliche. Blah. I had to struggle to get an hour into this game just to like adequately test it, because it's just not fun. It's boring. It's a chore. One chair.
Yeah, I like the horror genre. I like the horror genre a lot. My all-time second favorite game is Silent Hill 2. And at number 6 comes Amnesia: The Dark Descent. But I don't like games that have to rely on jump scares to keep themselves relevant. And even then, most of the jump scares in this game they're really not that scary. As hard as the game tries to build up an atmosphere, it fails miserably. The background music is distracting as balls at time, and the whole red pixel bug that was surrounding the shadow bits that I mentioned in the shiny and sound section, I found that more interesting than the rest of the entire first hour of game. I put in another 20 minutes just to be sure that I wasn't going to change my mind about it, and I didn't. I like horror games, especially the frictional brand of horror games. It's Penumbra, Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Soma. I love those games. Those were amazing. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I think that jump scares aren't a valid horror trope. They certainly are. I mean, Doom 3 was the perfect example of how to make a horror game that relies on jump scares. Doom 3 was fucking amazing. I love it. But this game, it's trying to do the frictional thing of dropping you in defenseless and saying, have at. But while Soma and Amnesia: The Dark Descent kind of reinforce your powerlessness with creative atmosphere and some really awesome audiovisual clues, this game just relies on gore and jump scares, hoping that there'll be enough to keep you going. Unfortunately, they're not. They're really not, Brad. One chair.
Yeah, so that's one chair for fun. Tally that all up, and you get 2 chairs for Outlast. So, gentlemen, final thoughts.
None, really. I'm just being honest. Buy it on sale if you see it. You're not gonna hate yourself for it. It's not spooky ghost spooky, but it's its own thing. I mean, it's made by a small studio, and they put a lot of work into it, and it does perform very well under Linux. So yeah, if you see it for like $1.99, $2.99, something like that, just pick it up. I mean, you'll be able to fart around with the time on it. It's incredibly fucking gory and incredibly fucking penisy, but there's nothing wrong with that. Who doesn't like a bunch of floppy zombie penises? Show title in your fucking face.
Yeah, you see, if you like horror games, stay the fuck away. Seriously, don't put yourself through this. You're not going to enjoy it one bit. I'm going to say if you are a YouTuber and you have the whole face cam thing going on, maybe pick this up, fake some scary bits. Why not? That might get you some views, but that's it.
Yeah, I completely I thought the name of the game I was thinking of was Condemned, but it's not that. There was a game on the PlayStation 2 that had a very similar plot that was a lot better and legitimately scary. And part of what made it good is the fact that you could go around killing a bunch of these mutated inmates. And like again, this game, my main issue with it is that it's really boring. There's very little tension. Ben actually said it best before we started recording. If you just unplug your headphones, this game loses all its effect. Really. And
except for the penises.
I mean, there's not really
still the
much to say.
penises.
Well, that's just hot. And on that bombshell, we're gonna cut on over to the hate mail section, where we talk about doing it right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my favorite time of LGC Weekly.
Oh my
it's
God.
the hate mail. You know how to get in touch with us. I know you do, because this week, someone actually read the fucking thing about sending us 3 keys if you want us to talk about your game. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. It's Painted Black, Mr. Edward Brown. That's his name. I had forgotten it earlier. I'm sorry. But he says, "Hi, LinuxGameCast. This is Edward Brown. I'm writing to announce that the release of Painted Black is a logic puzzle game set in an art gallery that unfortunately has had all its paintings erased.
You know, the more I think
You've got
about it,
to paint them back.
The game is one letter off from being incredibly racist.
Black
Completely, yeah. When I first saw the name, I thought about that too. But yeah, if you're familiar with Picross, then think of it as Picross with a purpose. Solve paintings like an enormous ant, go sightseeing, and Satan is my neighbor to win achievements and restore the gallery to its former glory." He sent us some keys. That's the first redacted bit right there. And then he sent us some links. The first one was the link to the press area. If you're so inclined, you can look it up. It's on Google. But there's the Steam store page. We've already mentioned it on the show. As usual, all of that will be in the show notes. Feel free to contact me with any questions or just for a chat. You see, if we make 150 wet stinky caches a week on Patreon, we might take you up on that, Edward.
We can definitely do that. I mean, I kind of blew my mind. P-Man will speak because P-Man is our hype machine.
He's our talking head.
Yeah. And Pedro, you know how many fucking emails I have to forward you.
Oh, Lord.
Of people going, "I don't know how to read, bruh. Here's a thing. Here's one key." And I'm just like, I don't fucking care. I'm just sending it to fucking Pedro. Then Pedro's job is like, okay, apparently I can't read, so I don't know how he communicates. I like to think Pedro communicates with these fucking developers with interpretive dance. I'm not quite positive.
It's semaphore.
It's very hard to do that over email, but feasible.
Yeah, 9 times out of 13, he manages to pull it off and they get around to it. But it does make us, I mean, what he said was truth organs. We have a little thing there. It's like, here's a picture. Count the number of hosts in that. Send that many keys. And they're like, "Hello, Swag Dorito 420, son." But up next, Civic. You might know him as, what's his name?
The volunteer.
The Volunteer. That's his name now. I love it.
Yeah.
He sent me this note over the Steams. He's like, because last week we were talking about the Skullgirls doing the reviews and business and all that. I was like, you know what? The old Logitech Precision Pro, which is a fantastic fucking gamepad for this fucking Skullgirls game compared to the X-Clone, didn't make with working. I mean, it did during the beta. And when it, came real world release, it's like, yeah, you know what? I don't see it there in Steam. Big picture is like, it's there, Brad, and I use it. Distance was like, good luck, but I mean, it's available. He writes, "Most likely fixed your old Logitech gamepad business." Why you gotta be in the old shit? I get the fuck off my lawn, son. Please have another go with the latest build. Heart. I would have, but I did have to explain that I'm completely rubbish at this game, and unless we're just doing it out of some type of sadomasochistic reasons, There's really no need. I mean, I'm sorry, Brad. I kind of deleted it. Yeah, got some thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good that they're trying to address the issues. But, speaking of Lab Zero, we got our next mail from Kill Younglings, because apparently this guy hates cheap beer. And he says, well, at this rate, if a strong crowd of Linux gamers showed up to support Indivisible, that would certainly have a big impact on how Lab Zero prioritized Linux features in the future. No way anyone would let them skimp on the small stuff with that budget, and they'd probably agree. So here's the thing about Lab Zero. Yes, Skullgirls came out. Yes, it was a fairly solid game, but that doesn't let them off the hook just yet. It took them 3 years for us to get our mitts on it, and it took nonstop bitching and complaining and whining and emailing and contacting devs and talking about it for any forward motion to actually be made. So until Lab Zero can prove that they're able to handle stable and timely cross-platform releases, we can't really start saying endorse them on Kickstarter or any of these other crowdfunding campaigns. Trust is earned. And I mean, on the other side of things, we used to love Deep Silver and Feral, but they've been dropping the ball lately, and they're starting to earn our ire, and they're starting to lose that trust. So it's a two-way relationship. If you can...
Goddamn. What type of moon universe are we living in? Because I'm about to stand up for fucking Lab Zero. You hear that? Bring it. I can use it. Volunteers have ported their Z engine, the Z engine, over to Linux, and they did make good on their current Indiegogo campaign for, what the fuck was it called? Indivisible.
Yes.
To get that prototype and that demo out, even though, it's not Kickstarter where you kind of have to, but not really with software because, peace to all worlds. They did that. I mean, now that the Z engine's ported, I mean, it works. And I don't hate on the developers. All I'll say about the developers of Lab Zero, they are clearly the most fiscally irresponsible fucking people in the world to get $800,000 out of like $100,000 game and go 3 years later, yeah, we need some volunteers. We didn't budget for that. The fuck were you budgeting for? Gold-plated Lamborghinis? But we're done with that. We're done with the anger. We're done with the anger. Because, and only because, they did eventually make good, but it was 3 years, and I do understand fucking anger that J-Man has, and I kind of echo it. P-Baby.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess they're trying to redeem themselves in the eyes of the crowdfunding crowd.
I mean, does it make any sense that you'd be a little hesitant to kind of back that? Be like,
Hesitant as in I don't crowdfund games anymore because I've been burned way too many fucking times. But even that aside, with their new Indiegogo, they're actively trying to at least be honest and tell people exactly where the money is going and what they're going to do with it. And you gotta give them credit, even though their engine and literally all the hard work of getting the game to run on Linux was done by Civic and the rest of the volunteers. They have a prototype out and it works. So
True.
I don't know. I mean,
and I don't know. It's I wouldn't say my statement comes from anger. It's more of a we need to state some principles and stick to it sort of thing. I'm happy to throw my hat behind Lab Zero if they can prove that they can get this out in a timely manner. And if they and yes, they did provide a Linux prototype. That's great. Is that the only thing we're going to see for the foreseeable future? I don't know. Prove me wrong, Lab Zero.
Well, I mean, let's just take it down a notch because we want to talk a chat room. Everybody's watching this. Anyone who is watching this is something that I want your feedback, J-Man, B-Man. Mm-hmm. And I think we've all noticed is, especially Windows developers and some small thing, Windows and Mac developers, they are used to having the proverbial genitals sucked. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But they do have something of a recoil reaction when they run into somebody who just flat out calls them on their bullshit. Like, this is bullshit. You're fucking with people. And deal with it. I'm always amazed that some people have the audacity. Like, well, you guys are entitled. And it was like, if we were entitled, how does that work out? Does that ever confuse you a lot? I mean, we're just trying to, take it down to tone here and have a little personal conversation.
Yeah, I don't think it's
saying?
entitled at all. If your business makes a promise via Kickstarter or whatever, some pre-order mechanism, or even just through your own site to say, hey, we will do X, and then you don't really follow through, how are we really supposed to take that?
Even without the promise, even if you have a game that's already out and you're trying to push a Linux quote-unquote port that sucks. I mean, the glaring example that comes to mind is CD Projekt Red with The Witcher 2. They try to pass off the shitty,
How the fuck is that
UN
worse
rapper.
than The Witcher 3, which isn't even out yet, and they're releasing expansion packs?
Yeah, I can sort of kind of guess why it isn't out for Linux. They had their asses burned, and that was the turning point of when the whole, oh yeah, Linux gamers are entitled pricks, don't deal with those guys. Pretty sure that's what tipped them over the edge. But yeah, you don't see that with, okay, you might start to see that now with some Windows users that are actually kind of tech savvy, and they will call out some developers on their bullshit, mostly thanks to Mr. Jim fucking Sterling's son. He's the one leading the charge.
Gobble that knob.
Yeah. But the Linux side, I mean, most people are tech savvy. Most people know how their hardware works, how the operating system works, how everything goes together. And the moment a game kind of fucks it up, yeah, it's a developer's fault. And I am usually one of the first people to call out bullshit when a shitty port comes along. And that has earned me the ire of just about everyone else in the Linux community outside of Chat-Realm. And even some people in Chat-Realm. Strider, hi.
And on that snooze shell, let's cue the music. You can always find me because I'm a fuck-mothering Vinstone at Vinstone on the Twitter nets plus Vinstone on the G pluses, babies.
I'm super disappointed you didn't try to snore the free software song. But anyways, I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me on Twitter at The Burning Fool or on Google Plus at plus Jordan Svung doing nothing.
I am the incredible, the hateful Plage Marissa.
Oh
You
my
can
God, why are you
find me
so mean
at
and
unaccounted
brown?
for on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google Plus.
And just remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, zombie demon hordes of the internet, chill out, be peaceful, and touch doors gently.
Yeah. Don't slam them. Be gentle, not rough.
Doors?
Slam!
Dun 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 dun. Bring the noise. Slam.
5 dudes.